Yes.
Was it based on someone you knew like that?
Yes, the movie is based, it's a distillation of true events, but the Cam is based on my father. Oh, yes? I can't see.
Tell us about those girls. They were amazing.
Oh, thank you so much. Amelia, actually, the older daughter, is played by our daughter, our middle daughter, Imogen. And when you're making an independent film, things come together very quickly, and you use all the resources you have. And we knew that Imogen had actually, she's always been sort of a born performer, but she had done a table read with Mark Ruffalo and Zoe Saldana a few years ago, so we felt confident that she could do it. And then there was the added benefit that I knew that I could make her cry without a lot of guilt. And Ashley, who was, it's so hard to find child actors. Ashley, our casting director in New York, found she popped right off of the her video audition. She said her favorite animal was a tiger, and her favorite color was orange, and I felt those were good signs. And so I think we cast Ashley a week before.
Yeah, and it was just, we got them together, they had good chemistry, they instantly felt like a real family, and so we rolled with that.
Yes.
Is your father still alive?
No, my father actually died in 1998, and my mother is still alive. She was at the premiere of the film, and was very, very happy. Has been very, very happy about the film the whole time. Very supportive, and gave me some great details. After the first script that I wrote, she gave me that bow tie detail. So she's quite helpful. Yes.
How long did it take you to film the whole?
To film it? Well, it took probably 5 years to pull it together, the financing and everything, and get it and actually start filming it. We filmed it in 28 days in Providence, Rhode Island. Which, when you have child actors, they can only work a limited amount every day. So it was kind of actually more days than you usually get on an independent film. But we just were very limited by the fact that the girls had such limited hours. So we got more days. Yes?
How did you get your main actress to sign on?
Mark was the first to sign on, and I sent him the script. J.J. Abrams had come on board. He had read the script and had come on board to help move it forward. And so then Mark got the script, and when I met with Mark, he responded to it so personally. He has mental illness in his family, an experience with that, but he also is very funny, and that was really important to me. And he's very warm. And he's a good father himself. So he understood it from a deep place and a very authentic place. So Mark signed on, I think, probably 4 years ago. And Zoe, soon after, she also really responded very personally to the script. I was happy that through the process of getting financing and losing financing and getting financing, I managed to hang on to both of those actors because they were great collaborators and they're brilliant actors. Yes?
When we went through the editing, is there any part of it that got left on the editing floor that you wish you had back?
Yes. There are scenes that I wish they had wonderful feeling in the scenes. There was a scene where Cam and the girls are driving, and it's just a really warm family scene, but the content of the scene ended up not working. So I wept when I cut that scene. I felt really, really sad to lose that element. But most of the things that we cut, they'll be on the additional materials. Thank God for that.
We ended up cutting a lot of things that, and we're both comedy writers by trade for many years, and we cut a lot of things that were actually too funny, that kind of skewed it into the wrong direction, which is a killer because you want every laugh you can get, but just there's a dramatic, it's really a drama, not a comedy. So those kinds of things ended up getting cast aside. But yes, DVD.
Yes.
Is this the only movie you've been working on for 5 years? I mean, is this the movie you always wanted to make, I guess, and was there anything else going on in that
Well,
time?
we write movies together, and so during that time we were writing movies as well. It was the only movie, it was the first movie I'd written. I'd always wanted to direct a film, but it was the first one that I wrote that I really felt it would be, I could take the leap, and even if I failed in directing the film, I would be happy that I tried because it would be too painful to give it to someone else since it was so personal to me. But we were always working, it wasn't just 5 years of getting financing and losing financing. We were working on other films at the same time. Yes?
It seems so emotional for your mother, and I'm sure for you. Did you really spend, what did your mom have to say to you about all of the years that you spent apart, that she had words and somewhere else?
Did people hear the question? What was, it was very, she was asking what was it like for my mother and for me in terms of the time the emotional quality of the film, right? When I wrote it took me a really, really long time to write this film. It went through many different versions, but when I finally had this version, I think when my mother read the film, she felt very strongly that she empathized in a new way with me and my sister, and I felt that I empathized with her. So it was very good for us because I think we both felt like, I just really was grateful to her for what she did because she really was very focused on getting us a good education, and she never really felt like she was really she never felt like she was really out of our lives. But I recognized what a struggle it had been for her, and I think it was actually, I sort of felt like even if I never get to make the movie, just writing the script was worth it because of what it meant for the two of us. Yes?
I have bipolar in my family as well, and friends, a lot in my life, and I just want to thank you for putting that down, showing the humanity and how absolutely wonderful those crazy people really can be.
Thank you very much. That means a lot to me too. Thank you very much. Yes.
What was it like for your daughter to sort of play you and like get to know you and her grandpa being that age?
Well, I think my daughter, I would say she's a better version of me than I am. It was great. We have 3 children, and I think because my father died before our first daughter was born, it's not our father, but my sister says it's like a breathing photo album. I mean, it is. Mark does such a great job, and he brings so much of himself to it too. But he has so much that he shares with my father that I think for my children and for my sister's son, it was really very meaningful for them to get a sense of their grandfather, who they will never meet, but now they feel that they know him.
I'd also say that for the 12-year-old, she's now 12, they were very elastic, and so the day after we finished, she's 12 again, and she goes back to school, and it's as if it never happened in a weird way. So it was kind of very much a part of the fabric of our lives.
Yeah, she was just thrilled because she was cast as villager number 5 in her school musical. The question is, was it hard to see such a personal story right in front of me? Often, you start with the script and you try and get as authentic to your story as you can, and then it evolves when you bring people in, and when you see what resources you have, and so things change. But I will say that the scene in the mental hospital was really a tough one for me, because whenever I would see my father in that state, medicated like that, it was like a horror movie. I mean, it was very heartbreaking. So that was, and Mark did such an amazing job there in that scene. That was a hard one. Yes. Yes.
Personally, I loved the film. All the performances were top notch. I felt just they were very genuine and authentic. I'm curious, how much of what we saw on screen was word for word, verbatim in the script, and how much was there wiggle room there with the acting, those performances?
There was a little bit. A lot of it is really scripted, and there were certain things, because my father had a very specific way of talking. It was important for me to capture that, and that was difficult because we were working in a pretty quick. There was a lot of lines to memorize in this short period of time, and but I would say mostly. I mean, we like people improvise.
Yeah, I mean, the kids don't improvise, but it's fantastic. You tell them to read what they've been taught, and they do it. But Mark had lots of ideas, and he did. I think he.
And Zoe too. I mean, Zoe came up with the name Lavender, the middle name Lavender for Amelia, which I thought she really knows who she is now. Now that she's naming these children Amelia Lavender. So there was we played with that a bit, but we tried. Also, because it's a period piece, it was important to have a different way of speaking than the way everyone talks right now. Yes?
You mentioned, you used the word horror film, so I can imagine that there were some really difficult things growing up in that environment, but the film is pretty upbeat. So how do you feel kind of navigating through a more upbeat feel to the story when you're reflecting on something that was probably pretty difficult?
So the question is, the upbeat, some of the upbeat tone, even though we're dealing with a serious subject. I wanted to capture a lot of the joy in the family as well as the sadness. I think the fact that the mom does stay in New York, the mother does stay in New York, she makes a really hard choice, it's pretty heartbreaking. And my sister, but I guess in reflecting on it, I'm very grateful to my parents, because my mother got us a good education, and my father was right there with her, supporting that decision. And he was doing the best he could, and we learned lots of songs and heard lots of stories, and there were a lot of great things about my father. My friends all loved my father. He was a really difficult and an impossible person, but he was also a wonderful person, and that was what I wanted to bring, which I think you often don't see in movies about mental illness. And I just wanted to capture the totality of it. Yes?
I hope this isn't a sensitive question, but I think it's tough. I got a sense that you were parenting your parent at times. And it was so enjoyable to watch. Would you ever consider doing a film with kind of the full angst, kind of the other side, without as much comedy, but more of the angst?
So the question is, would I consider doing a version of the film with more pain and less comedy? I don't want to do that. No, but I understand what you're saying. I understand. I think there's something about kids. They're so resilient, and there's a scene where he's standing and he's looking in the fridge, and the kids are kind of moving all around him. And to me, that was, in writing the movie, I was reflecting. We have 3 children, and I'm reflecting. Parenting is different today than it was then, I think. And what I realized is how much some of the issues that my father had were strengthening me. So when those kids are moving around, they're just going on with their lives. They're learning how to make their own sandwiches and take care of themselves. And I think that's valuable too. Nothing horrible happened. I mean, it was challenging. There's certainly an an angrier version probably of the movie, but I guess I don't feel angry. I feel grateful, and so I'm sure I will be able to make a painful movie about something else. Two more questions. Yes.
I really enjoyed what Mark wore in the movie, and I noticed that he had the same yellow jacket as your dad in the picture with the camera. Did you do that on purpose? Like, did you remember your dad's clothing and you wanted to put Mark in something like that?
So she's asking about the wardrobe and that she enjoyed what Mark was wearing, and that the answer is yes. I had lots of pictures to show my costume designer, who did an amazing job. Do you want to talk about the big green?
Yeah, I mean, the first time I met him, he was wearing an enormous green Lacoste shirt and did approach us and say, "I look like a big green bug." So that was really who he was, and so yeah, we tried to get it close to that.
One more question. Yes.
This whole kind of like East Coast Boston Brahmin culture was very important to me, and so I was wondering if your family still lives on the East Coast or whatever worked in the West, you know, in Hollywood, and your son has some of those differences, or maybe over generations how that's changed.
The question is about the Boston Brahmin element and whether I've lived in the West. I do live in California, and have for 20-something years since I graduated from college. I did grow up in New England, in Cambridge, and it was bizarre because you've got my parents who were sort of 70s bohemians, and my great-grandmother who was sort of like she was in Downton Abbey. I think my great-grandmother thought, you know, these children need a governess to teach them French and art history. I mean, that's what they really need. She didn't quite understand what was the world that we were living in. She's very, very old. She was born in the 1800s, late 1800s. So I do have a lot of experience. Is that what you're asking in that world? It's a strange world. I think that's all we have time for. Thank you so much for coming.